Hi, I'm Joe Walensky, and I am meeting with some of the presenters who will be at our ConveyUX conference in Seattle in February. And today I am meeting with Misty Weaver. Hello, Misty, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Joe.
And where are you talking to us from today, Misty?
I'm here in Seattle, Washington.
All right, so we're both here connected uh, for this. And if you're not familiar with Misty, she's a content strategist working for a company called Content Insight. She also teaches at the University of Washington iSchool, and she's one of the active organizers for our local IA/UX and content strategy meetups. Misty, your topic for the conference is building sustainable content strategy from the holistic content audit. So that's a mouthful. Why don't you give us a preview of that?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of my favorite keywords in there. The first one being the content audit, which is the chance of going through your content, but also looking at the content in your content ecosystem and auditing it against what your business goals are, what your audience is looking for. But also, and this is where for me the word sustainable becomes very important, you have to look at what your resources are, both in terms of time and in terms of the systems that you're going to use, as well as the staff, the people who are going to be creating and publishing and hopefully archiving and revising and optimizing and doing all the things that are important in your content lifecycle. The reason that I found content audits to be so important is that, your website and all of the apps and things that you control within your organization are your key pieces of content. And those are the places you generally want to drive people because they can have the most interaction with you. So I find that most people don't know what content they have, and they don't necessarily know about the life cycle that they're using for that content. And a content audit is a great way to be able to figure out what you have. This also allows you to do things like, make sure that you're making content that fits your goals. You're making content that fits your audiences. And if you're making content that isn't doing one of those two things, or hopefully both, then you have to ask yourself why you're doing it. Is it worth the time and resources that you're putting in to make it if you're not really reaching the people you want to reach and you're also not making the business goals that you want to make? Another great reason for a content audit, knowing what your content is because it helps you repurpose content. So you get the most life out of one piece of content when you can multiply it over different channels. These days, most of us can't operate in one channel. We operate in a multi-channel. So we're talking about how your content looks maybe on a desktop, on your regular website, on a phone, if you're using apps, if you're doing responsive, but also, of course, with social media channels. And that's where repurposing the content comes in most handy. I'm a community manager at Content Insight, and also when I'm doing the meetups here in town, I work for a lot of organizations and I do a lot of volunteering. As a community manager, the thing that helps me the most is knowing what content I have available to use. It helps me jump into a conversation. It helps me help people find what they need. I know what's relevant to them. And that is the most useful way that I can repurpose my content across those different channels. So it doesn't matter if you're doing IA, if you're a user experience designer who's going to go through a migration or a redesign or a refresh. You could be a marketer or the person who's in charge of content at all times. The content audit is something that helps all those people across all those fields. The one thing I think it does best is help us create better user experiences.
But when probably when a lot of people hear the term audit, they think of something in a very formal structure. What's the issue in terms of that? Is there a range of levels of that you get into with auditing?
Yeah, I mean, content audits can take a variety of levels. I think the important thing about content strategy is one, it's always contextual. It's always based on you and your needs in that organization, and it's got to be scalable. So you do the content audit that you have the space to do. Um, One important thing to note is usually done with spreadsheets. I mean, this is a common spreadsheet activity. When we teach the class, I am very focused on the idea that it's information technical. So it has a lot of feeling of being very technical because you're collecting data and then you're making design decisions based on that data. At the same time, you're really thinking about how to make qualitative judgments. There are a lot of tools that can help you pull data about what content you have and how it's operating, and you can see analytics. but none of those things help you make decisions. So when you're doing a content audit, whether you're talking about your content or looking at a competitive space, it's really how you set that up and what heuristics you choose that allow you to then take that information and immediately start making decisions that can help you improve that user experience. And one of the reasons I fell in love with them, I was looking at a group content audit in a medical setting and going through those pages and making decisions about what pages to cut or what pages could be improved. I was looking at things like, wow, this step is taking 5 to 6 pages for the person to get there. And that person is getting there to get cancer treatment. If we could remove that and get that down to 1 or 2 things, those people would just feel better. They would feel more confident in their experience and they would feel more confident in their healthcare provider. And I think that's incredibly important. So it's not just that a content audit does small things for you, it can do really big things for you that improve people's experiences. And I think when you're improving their lives online, it makes a really big deal to the service they get from you and your company in general.
All right, great. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes to give us a preview of your session, and I will see you at the event in February.
Cannot wait. It's going to be fantastic.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Joe.